interest rates by a quarter point. Now, I just want you to keep in mind that right now, the Federal Reserve is going through an information blackout period. So basically, they're not allowed to talk to the press or the media until the official decision is made about the interest rate cuts. So just so you know, the odds of a rate cut were swinging wildly over the past month. Okay, but why? It's because every time a Fed member gave their sentiments to the media, it swayed the odds. So basically, every time they opened their mouths, talked to the media, it changed the odds, the probabilities drastically. Now, because the Federal Reserve cannot talk to the press, I don't expect the market odds to change by much. Now, why am I saying this? Why is this important? It's because the Federal Reserve generally goes with the market expectation. Basically, they don't like to give surprises with their decisions and spook the markets. Are they supposed to act like that? Of course not, but that's what they do. That's how they operate. Now, the market expectation is an 89% chance that they're going to cut interest rates next week. But if they decide to not cut...
That's interesting that the Fed reacts to the market and public sentiment. So if everybody's like, oh my gosh, like, please, lower interest rates. Oh, please. Oh, I need some relief. They're going to be like, all right. It doesn't even matter, like, what's going on. Like, that's kind of weird. Aren't they supposed to be, like, knowing, they should know better than the public, right? But if the public whines and cries enough, they just give in? That's crazy.
Interest rates, then that would crash the market. Stocks, Bitcoin, precious metals would just nosedive that day. So I know it's just a mere 0.25% interest rate cut, but still, that's how the market reacts. Now, I want you to take a look at this. In October, when the Federal Reserve had their meeting, they did not give updated projections. So they don't do it at every meeting. At their meeting next week, the Federal Reserve will update their projections for 2026. Therefore, the next meeting is going to be very important in terms of what they're going to, at least what they plan on doing for next year, 2026. Their next meeting is going to be on January 28th. And right now, the market expectation is that the Federal Reserve will most likely not cut interest rates at that January meeting. There's currently a 27.6% chance that they're going to cut interest rates at that January meeting. So we'll see what the projection materials say, and also the Q&A session at the press conference that Jay Powell will give. And then we're going to see, based off that information, how the market reacts and what the new odds are for January rate cuts. So listen, next week, if the market moves significantly on December 10th, it's not going to be because the Federal Reserve cut interest rates, because that is expected. It's going to be because it changed the market expectations for future rate cuts. And here's another very important issue. The Federal Reserve has ended quantitative tightening, QT, on December 1st. So QT is the opposite of money printing. Now, the big question is, when will the Federal Reserve turn the money printers back on and start quantitative easing, so QE? And this is very important because if they blast the money printers back on, then of course, yeah, that's going to be good for the stock market, for crypto, for precious metals. It's gonna provide a massive tailwind for most investments. But listen, here's what you need to know. There are liquidity problems right now in the markets. The Federal Reserve needed to pump $13.5 billion into the US banking system because of the liquidity stress. So that is the second largest liquidity injection since the pandemic. It's the recent liquidity stress that caused the Federal Reserve to stop QT on December 1st. So they specifically spoke about this at their last press conference. And I'll tell you that when the situation gets more dire, you know what they're going to do. They're just going to turn the money printers back on. That's always their solution. It is now widely expected that QE will start in 2026. But of course, when? I'll tell you, honestly, it's really going to depend on who the next Fed chair is going to be. Jay Powell, who's the chair of the Federal Reserve, has his term expiring in May of 2026. And President Trump's going to nominate the next Fed chair. And of course, I don't think to anyone's surprise, he's going to nominate someone that's aligned with his policies. Right now, the odds are that President Trump will most likely nominate Kevin Hassett. According to Polymarket, there's a 74% chance that's going to be Hassett. Okay, who is Kevin Hassett? Kevin Hassett is an advisor to Trump. Hassett is the director of the White House Economic Council. So Hassett has said to the White
This guy's going to turn the money printer on.
House that he wants the job as Fed chair and that
Turn that money printer on. Come on, baby. Come on, make my dollars worthless for a long time, but in the short term, I get to feel good.
he is the best candidate for the job. A White House spokesperson said until an announcement is made by President Trump, discussions about the Fed nominations is speculation. But President Trump said, and I quote, "I know who I'm going to pick." So Hassett wants to cut interest rates aggressively, which aligns with what President Trump wants. But I want you to know that it is not guaranteed that Hassett's going to win.
Guys, in order to be an advisor, a financial advisor in the White House or in high levels of government, you have to, one, you have to master the Mr. Burns hand placement and stance, and you have to grin. You have to grin like you're sending millions of people into poverty. You have to do this. And send. You have to like. I think they send them to some sort of finishing school, where they teach you like your bread plates on your, was it on the right or left? Anyway, and all that, how to do this. Well, this is part of it. You have to be able to do the proud hand, rubbing your hands together and just kind of grin like, yeah, oh yeah. This guy is gonna send America straight to hell. And then also
cut interest rates aggressively.
Also, you gotta have the chicken neck, the turkey neck thing. You gotta have the turkey neck. Gotta have that turkey neck. That's where all the excess government waste hangs, right there. You gotta have those two things in order to turn on that money printer. Let's continue.
Guaranteed that Hassett's going to win. Although the market considers him to be the top pick, there's still doubts because he may be. It's an issue of Fed independence because he may be considered too close to the Trump administration, and then of course that would disrupt Fed independence or even perceived Fed independence. Additionally, there's speculation that Hassett would not be able to influence the other voting members of the Federal Reserve. So Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who's in charge of doing all the interviews for the new Fed chair, said that they're going to reveal the Fed chair, the nominee, before Christmas. So Bessent said that a little over a week ago. However, President Trump said that it's most likely going to be announced in early 2026. But I'll tell you that whoever gets nominated, they're going to pick a candidate that's going to go with an easier monetary policy. So Hassett may be more aggressive when it comes to an easier monetary policy. However, the other two leading candidates are going to be more dovish than the current Fed chair, Jay Powell, which, again, that's going to be good for investors. But here's something that I want you to think about. If Trump nominates a new Fed chair, they reveal it in, let's just say, January of 2026, okay? But Jay Powell has his term as Fed chair expiring in May of 2026. Then the new nominee is going to be considered the shadow Fed chair. It's because even though Powell is still in power up until May, people are going to be paying more attention to what the new nominated Fed chair says from the shadows, because that person is going to be coming into power very soon. So, for example, we talked about how the Federal Reserve is going to give their projections, but those projections under Powell may not carry as much weight for market expectations if the Fed chair, the shadow Fed chair, says something to the contrary. Now, in terms of my predictions, I believe that, yes, next week, December 10th, the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates by 1/4 point. And that's going to be a sigh of relief for stocks, for crypto, and also precious metals. Now, when it comes to the money printing, I mean, we're all going to be looking for clues on the December 10th press conference on when they're going to start that process. I made my prediction that they're going to start the money printing in 2026. I'm not going to give my prediction on the time period within 2026, at least not right now. Now, for the new Fed chair, the nominee, I mean, regardless of who it is, whether it's Hassett's or the other leading candidates, you have to think about it. These three candidates, the top candidates, they're going to be more dovish than Jay Powell. So it's going to be really good for investments. But then again, of course, that's not going to be good for inflation. It's just something to think about. That's a high-level overview.
It's a trade-off.
All right, that's all for now. Please subscribe. Thank you for this.
Wow. Yeah, shout out to Clear Value Tax. Great piece of information there. Yeah, it's a trade-off. But, I mean, look at this. A shadow chair steer the Fed. So there's going to be somebody that Trump is going to keep referring to, whether it's the Hassett guy or whoever, and they're going to be just making statements, dovish statements, and driving this economy in a direction to where we're all to expect freebies, the stimulus check, interest rate cuts, just liquidity coming into the market. So this could speed up this acceleration of investment markets, of high-risk markets, sooner than we think. Because a lot of us are thinking, okay, when is Powell going to be out? In May. Okay, we got to wait till May. Well, this whole shadow Fed chair scenario says that perhaps, Powell's in there till May, but maybe he, after a few pieces of media attention to whoever we all think is going to be the new Fed chair that Trump's going to pick, or I think Trump picks him, we're going to be paying attention to what that guy says. So the shadow chair effect is probably going to accelerate markets faster than we anticipated, which makes sense. Like I've been saying, I mean, I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy on YouTube. I expect whenever we do get an acceleration of markets up and to the right, we're going to have to bite the bullet and front run some of this stuff that's to come. And we're going to have to buy into some fear and into some down markets. And this definitely says that to me. And already, I mean, you're seeing a lot of talk about this Hassett guy. I mean, 74% chance or something? 74% chance of him being the new Fed chair. I mean, that's a pretty good chance. I mean, that's on Polymarket too. I mean, that's probably going to happen. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But certainly Powell has one foot out the door, if not both out the door. And he's just leaning in saying goodbye. I think from here on, it's pretty much written. Maybe not in stone, but maybe definitely not in sand. But it's definitely, a good chance that we don't need to listen to Jerome Powell anymore, and that the other folks that are on the board are going to start taking direction from Trump through whoever the shadow chair is going to be. So that's just crazy. And it does seem like Trump is desperately trying to get this market going. You got to give it to him. He's desperately trying to get this market going. I know he's forced to. I mean, maybe is he forced or is he, when he came out with the tariff news and all this stuff, was he forced to say that? Maybe in a way, yeah, to have posture on the world stage, to appear strong, to have strength against China, against a lot of these other places and countries. Yeah, he had to come out and announce tariffs to keep 10 toes down. You know what I mean? But like, perhaps he's also on the side that the homie's got $1 billion of his own money in Bitcoin, Ethereum, Avalanche, Lido. I mean, whatever World Liberty Financial has there in the cut there. I mean you gotta think Trump wants to pump these markets, man. And I'm still on that. I've been on that for months, and he's not starving. He's filthy rich, but he's able to weather this. But still, I think he wants get this going. So I thought that was a very interesting video. And yeah, shout out